be up and running.
Let me check the.
My shit pulled up. I know. I'm working on it.
Spelled 1980s wrong.
How? When I smell it, well, tell me. I'll fix it real quick.
You spelled it 19080.
Oh God, I'm so tired. Your fault. You've got to give me a break.
No, you got to tough it up.
I wonder if I can change it while we're actually recording. I don't know if we can do anything about it while we're actually.
We've already got 4 people in the room.
Yeah, tell them I'm working on it. Oh, hey, you can hear me. What do I have you tell them? I'm out of it. It's almost over for me. This is going to be a disaster. This is much like DOS gaming in the 80s. This is going to be a true disaster.
Stream. At least the background's good. Be brief. Only some people with ear idiots. No, it's still.
Well, I changed it. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. Now they'll see it properly. Theoretically. All right. What was I doing?
Yeah, okay.
How's it going, everybody? We are as prompt as ever.
We'll go ahead and give our first thumbs up. Bam. I like
we got 2 dislikes on the last show, and then me and Boat earned 2 dislikes on our last episode of Player. So
bam, moving up in the world.
That's right. I was honored. Yeah.
If you can't love the hate, then you're just gonna hate the love.
Well, it's like, you know what it reminds me of is when remember when Lisa went to the Second Banana concert? She's like, why did everyone come here to boo?
Yeah.
That's right. It's like, if you don't like it, why are you doing anything?
Well, no, I mean...
But I mean, we're not even making a stand on any sort of... we're like, it's not like, here's our political view. Well, then you can see why we do it.
I mean, the reason why we got all those downvotes on the whenever you mentioned the Star Wars pinball, because you're like, Star Wars. Let's face it, you're crap for liking it.
Listen, I had this discussion the other night. I will not change.
2 things need to happen before you get comfortable. You need to get the wheel.
Oh, damn.
And you need
That's right, we use that, don't we?
And you need to put a new piece in the wheel.
All in all, it's a piece in the wheel.
I think I'm the only well, no, we're up to 4 likes, which is amazing because we have 3 viewers. Oh, no, we got 4 viewers. No. Well, some of them were.
Electronic board game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be an awesome one.
That's what.
I mean, I can only think... I can think of 2 games that I would love to review for that.
Dark Tower and the D&D game.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's easy. Those are banned.
No, well, guess I'm screwed.
Name any other ones. We gotta make these puzzle pieces easier.
Matthew, those actually you can read them on camera pretty easily.
I can read. Watch it super high def.
Matthew, this is the Wargames. If you have ever seen that movie, and if you haven't, quit watching us and go watch Wargames. It's a 1983 movie. Great flick. Really fun flick. Are you want me to... I've got things to set things on.
You think you can do it? You've never done it.
Oh, hey.
Never done it.
Oh, this actually might be in shot. Oh, no, it's not.
Don't screw around, man. What are you doing?
Just slightly in shot. All right, you have to take it. Sorry, it's in shot.
We don't want to ruin the illusion that we're at the Wargames. People will know we're not at the Wargames. How come that we're not moving on that?
Because I've got it stopped so we don't waste bandwidth. Why do I need to watch us move? I see that live.
Not that much sometimes.
Well, we're going to go ahead and apologize in advance, folks.
Okay.
I've
been sick most of the week, so we're going to endeavor to do our best, and that's about as good as we can give you. I picked something simple.
Yeah, nice, straightforward, no variations. You know, all right, we already determined what we were going to lead with. So.
Why, do you have something where you prefer?
No. I think it is what it is. We do need to try to get the people out of here a little faster than we did last week.
You know, I know. Be less windy. I got it. I knew you were going to say it. That's how it goes. I was passionate about what did we play last week. I love that game. It was so great. Let's see one more thing. Fired up.
We have viewers, but no one's talking. Be sad.
They're lingering.
They're waiting for the show to start.
Lingering about.
Oh. Not to go into it much. I'll tell you.
God, is it something super bad?
Yeah.
By default.
You use Windows Explorer. Edit will. I'll put your face on it. $5.97.
87. Not 90. Now it's time for you to get Terry. Get on him if you're watching. Screwed this up big time.
Hey, Edvin. You should invite them. Just have us playing in the background of your dinner party.
Oh, awesome.
That way you'll lose all your friends.
That's what he's after, right? It would be hated. Yeah.
You know what we should do? We should play Bard's Tale live on stream right now.
Oh God!
If we start making our party now, by about noon we'll be ready to go.
Well, I'll get into it. My God. A lot of games I almost picked for this episode. They all would have been so much easier than the one I ended up picking. We're gonna talk about some games, and we're gonna get. All right.
You know, actually, I want to look up the date. I think.
Nice sentence, by the way.
Yeah, I found out what I need.
Sort of went crazy there.
Did we do 1990s? We've already done 90s?
Yeah.
Why didn't I play MechWarrior 2?
Because you played Big Red Racing.
Oh, yeah, that's also really
We did early 90s, by the way. That's why I didn't do MechWarrior 2.
Oh, well, I'm doing it when we do late 90s.
We're really milking dots. We're going to do late 90s. You know?
Hey.
I'm playing Unreal. It's like, oh, God.
Hey, Unreal's a great game.
I'm just saying. But when you're doing that late 90s, then you're being like, come on. What are we doing here? All right. Ready to try to give this a whirl? I feel a heavy editing piece.
Just, we're going to be like still screen, and then you're just going to do voiceover for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Hello.
According to Aaronpedia, game is defined as an entertaining subtitle. Like, no.
Hey, Duncan. This might be our first official train wreck.
No, I've train wrecked with both me.
No. Our first
Brent,
official.
you've train wrecked almost every week you've been on the show.
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. I can't help it. The tracks keep leading me there.
You know, I was worried that the disco ball might interfere in some way.
Where is? Oh, you know what? Is it bad? I didn't realize there was a disco ball up there.
Especially since I mentioned, hey, look, I got a disco ball at least 3 times.
Well, yeah.
Well, there it is. It's a disco ball, yo.
Does that light?
Oh yeah.
But that light scatters before it even gets to the ball.
It's crazy. It's crazy in here. It's like a rave.
You think we should show the people?
No. I don't think it would work too good on camera. All right, maybe.
Hey guys, what happened with Atari 8-bit streams?
Oh, we haven't done any for a while because Boat got the ZX Spectrum, ZX Spectrum. So he until he blew that up. That much said, I suspect we'll be getting back into the Atari 8-bit business real soon because hilariously, I picked up that awesome multi-card and then I haven't hardly got to use it because I'll be honest with you, my streaming is way down from last year because I've been so busy with shows. 3 shows in a week. I've got to play 3 games, and it's a lot, and it's hard to get in anything else, to be honest with you. So, but I want to play a bunch of 8-bit stuff, and it's definitely on my target. We played, it's funny, we played all our Atari stuff on here like a long time ago. Like our first show was an Atari 8-bit show, the very first one we did.
Oh, but now, of course, I wasn't here for it.
Yeah, and then
I would have saved E.T.
Hold on, then we also did, I think we did an XEGS too, I think, which is basically the same thing. We really, I guess we could do like Atari 400. Something. We haven't done Atari 5200 yet, have we? I don't think we've done that one, but that's basically the same thing too.
Yeah. That's just like
Amiga 600,
yeah,
Amiga 2500. But yeah, I will take that. Who mentioned that?
Alec.
All right, I will give it a whirl, sir. There's so much stuff on there that I like too. So
Duncan, we have low expectations for this episode. We are unfortunately not as well versed in the subject. Actually, that's not true. We played a ton of 1980s DOS games.
We're just I don't feel that good.
It's been a
basically.
It's been a rough West Virginia week.
Yeah.
But we're gonna stick to the guns. I mean,
it's gonna be awesome. We'll listen to Brent.
Okay, never mind.
Pay no attention besides the goof here. Let's get it going.
It's gonna be awesome.
You ready? I mean, they're all so great. It's tough to maintain a level of quality.
Well, that's not fair.
For example, all we need now is a bunch of rain to get the. Well, I love how we've established such an incredible average that now we've got to rise up. Are you kidding me?
When you set the bar low,
we could sit here and just go like boom, 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 and we'd probably get just the same few people laughing. Look, point at the monkeys, throw fruit at the screen. My God, are you kidding me? Act like we're some kind of credible thing. We're nothing. We got nothing.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
I've got something.
No. Nothing. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Woo, woo. No. The gamble train ain't coming.
What? No.
Assume the position. Hey everyone. Welcome to a classic edition of ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron. Joined by a man who has a game named after him.
No.
That's exactly what we did before.
No, you had an awesome intro before. That intro was horrible.
I don't remember what I did. What did I do? Why couldn't we go with that? Can't we go with that one? Do I have to go review the other one?
No, just do it again. You said that it wasn't a game named after. It was can't remember. Just go. Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it live.
Thank you.
And also, one other thing. Don't hit me at the beginning of every show.
Why?
No.
Why?
That's not our bit.
I like that. Can I flip your hat off?
Yeah, if you want me to punch you.
Oh, okay. I don't want that. All right, you ready? Hello, everyone. Welcome to a classical edition of ARG Presents. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who picked a game this week that he has something in common with. The Brent.
I do have a tongue,
How's it
and
going?
I am a fat man.
How's it going? You're slowly becoming a middle-sized man.
No, I'm not.
Tongue of the middle-sized man.
No.
You lost some. The tonnage is down.
No, it's not even close to being down.
When does the Brent weight loss challenge begin? Because listen, everyone, before he gets into this, look, I did it like I mentioned on one of our previous shows. I went and got the glasses, the new glasses.
Yes.
So don't read stuff like this. So I fulfilled my end of the bargain. Now, it's time for everyone out there in viewership land to yell at Brent for something. Make him do something.
Yes. Yell at me for being too awesome.
No, please.
All right.
No one's going to give money to charity for that. I can tell you that right now. So, on our last episode, we spun the wheel. We made the deal.
Yes.
And Brent, this week, we delved deep into the land of 1980s DOS games.
Yes.
Now, you were a rather young lad in 1980s. What year?
I would have been 3.
3 in 1980. So probably a lot of Disney or Sesame Street games that were being played by you.
No, at 3 I was playing nothing.
Also, we didn't have DOS in
That's
1983.
right.
So, but that much said, what are your memories of those games? Because I know you've delved back into the past and some of these.
A lot of my DOS, 80s DOS experiences have taken place, over the past 10 years. I didn't play 80s DOS games back in the day. We didn't have a way to play them. I didn't have a...
I think we got our first PC DOS-based computer in '85, I believe.
Really? Because I don't remember one until about 93.
No. We had a Coco, and then we went to the Tandy 1000 SL.
Okay, if you're counting that, then
that's a PC DOS game.
It is.
Computer. So nothing jumps out, leaps out.
No, I really don't. Like I said, looking back at the era now, even in my modern retro gaming, I play mostly 1990s era DOS games.
Mm-hmm.
DOS was just a platform. When it was out at the time, it was very complicated for young me to understand.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much going on with IRQ setups and setting up sound cards and allocating the right memory in the right places that it was above me for the most part. If I couldn't just go play game, I didn't have much of a chance.
It was more of a hassle. However, one thing a lot of people don't remember, unfortunately I do, being as old as I am, is that the much like, say, the Amiga, there was a time where that you had booter DOS games. You just put the disc in and boot off of them. Now,
that is true.
As hard drives became more prevalent, that went away.
Yes.
But early on, especially the era we're really focusing on, most people didn't have hard drives. We didn't have a hard drive in any of our Tandy, TL, or SL. We never had a hard drive in any one of them. So we were relying on using the floppy disk as the main way to get to one. And by this time, we never had a tape drive for the IBM PC. We never.
Right.
I know some people probably had them, but we had one for the Coco, but not for the thing. So
now, a game I did play a lot in school, was Oregon Trail.
Sure. I thought it'd be fun to look back on some of these early booter games and see if how many of these you'd probably know more of these than you would think.
Okay.
All right. So I got a little list here.
Yeah, run me down.
I'm just gonna run down for now. Just a few highlights. Do you remember a game? And I think this was on multiple systems, and I almost picked this. I came an ace of picking it. It's called Alley Cat.
Oh yes.
Now I played this on the Atari.
I played it on the Atari as well.
And
yes.
you were a cat, and you tried to jump out of this alley, jump up in this building, and go into different rooms. And the different rooms had different obstacles. There's like there's fish bowl. You try to get.
Oh yes, that was a very
giant hunk of cheese.
Great game.
That was a good game.
It was a really good game.
And
what would you call that? A platformer?
Yeah, I would say it's a platformer. But I thought it was real clever, and that was for
great sound on that.
Yeah, 84. You're right, it did. Another one I almost picked, and I've almost picked this so many times, but I always think, man, if I covered this because I've talked about it so much, was 1984's Archon and its sequel, Archon 2, which was also great.
Yep.
Adept. Did you remember? Did you ever give?
Oh yes.
Give those a lot? Yeah.
I mean, it's battle chess, except you get the. Just because you take a piece doesn't mean your piece is taken.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Great game. Great two-player game.
A big series in the early is another one that was a lot of fun and very clever, I thought, and really caught on all over the world was Boulder Dash. Did you ever play Boulder Dash?
I was never a big fan of Boulder Dash.
Again, it was sort of a thinking man's Big Dougie. So it was an interesting game.
It was a puzzle game.
The physics in it were real interesting. I always thought they did a good job.
They were. I mean, the problem with it though, the puzzle game, there were a lot of times I felt it was cheap. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was just young me playing it. But some of the run away from the boulders and then get smashed when you think everything's done. But yeah. I mean, it's a good game.
Now you can't talk early '80s without talking about Infocom. They had a ton of great text games that were out in that era on everything. You could play them in anything, and a couple that come to mind just right off the top of my head are, of course, the Zorks. And of course, I remember playing this game called Deadline, which is a really cool game. Did you ever play? Did you complete any of the Zorks, or did you play any of the Zorks?
I did play. I've played not in depth. Not in depth. The only text adventure that I really delve into hard was Dallas.
Yeah.
But
yes, I understand.
But I have played them, yes.
You know, in the early days, you had, of course, just like on any classic computer, you had a lot of arcade ports.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Now, do you remember? Are there any that stuck out in your mind from that era? That I remember. Sadly, I thought the majority of these were lacking. In terms of game, like for example, the early Donkey Kong, CGA, which was a early booter. It made you wish you could play the real one, but it was okay. It was okay. It was very like it was okay, but it was not. I didn't think it was any great shakes. And a lot of the games are like that. The old Centipede, some other ones, they were. They
gave you a taste.
Yeah.
They gave you a taste. They made you want to go back to the arcade. Now, which was really clever.
One I actually have good memories of it. It's not a clone of or it's not an arcade game. It's a clone of arcade. It was Demon Attack. I had this on the old
Never
PC.
played it on DOS though.
Oh yeah, it was a booter, and I had it, and it was good. I mean, it was pretty good. And, it's as good as it's going to get. Another one I remember playing a ton. Was Dr. J and Larry Bird.
Yep.
Remember that one?
But see, I played that on the C64.
Wait, where did you have access to a C64?
One of my friends at the time had one.
Really?
Yep. In the neighborhood, could walk to his house. They had tons of games.
Yeah, I understand. Now, here's one that I played. I think I played this mostly on the Atari, but it's another one that I had early booter on the PC. You know, the funny thing is, when you go back and look at these, you got to understand that the early DOS computers were somewhat limited.
They were very limited. I mean, even limited for the other computers that were around them.
And the funny thing is, I went back and played. I had this picked for this week's show,
right?
And then I changed my mind.
Okay.
And it was Hard Hat Mac. Have you ever played Hard Hat Mac?
I have, but not for DOS.
Hard Hat Mac I played on DOS and I played both of them really, because I played it on the Atari and I wanted it and I got it for DOS. Hard Hat Mac is a funny game though, because I remember loving this game. It was like a Donkey Kong-esque sort of game, but sort of. But the what you do in it is you're a construction worker and you're going around trying to repair this building. And the bad guys in it are there's a thief that just goes around trying to steal your stuff. There's also my favorite part of it though, and I did a little research on this early on, was the guy from OSHA, and he was called OSHA Man.
Yeah.
And the game was pretty successful the year it came out, and OSHA contacted her like, please take that out. Don't make us the bad guys in the game. I always thought that was pretty funny, man. And of course, Ghostbusters, another one I would play on there. Again, it looked bad compared to the other versions, right? That was sort of the
that was kind of the MO for DOS for a very, very long time. Now, of course, they picked it up and eventually became the all supreme.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not in the 80s. Certainly not in the 80s.
Now, I remember playing this for the very first time on my Tandy, and that was King's Quest, the original King's Quest 2.
I didn't play through the King's Quest games, but I do know they were good games.
They were really different games when they came out. Like they looked different. and they played a decent game.
Sure.
Now, something I used to play a lot of because I was a sports guy, were these like simulated sports titles, and like your micro league baseballs and your micro league wrestling, stuff like that. Did you dip your toe in the football stuff?
Again, not in DOS. That most of those games I played on the Amiga.
Yeah.
And through the TV Sports.
No, I'm talking like these are simulated. These aren't like action games. These are like simulate a season. You pick a team.
Right, but I would do that through TV Sports.
Well, I mean,
I would just coach the team.
Yeah, I understand. What about let's talk Jumpman?
Okay.
Jumpman was a great game. Did you play much of Jumpman on the PC?
Nope.
Or have you played Jumpman much anywhere?
Nope.
Really? Have you played Jumpman Jr. on the ColecoVision or on the various ports?
No, I've played the game.
I'm surprised to hear that. That's a real stunner to me. 1983 and 84 were great years for games. I can tell you that.
There were a lot of great games. Unfortunately, the market was really thick then. Well, on the computer side of things,
it was coming online.
Yeah, when you think back, I mean, you had your C64. I guess was the king of the ring at that time.
It was game wise. I'd say you're probably right. Yeah.
And it was tough to. I mean, the Atari obviously was up there too. The Atari ran of computers, but the C64 it was just superior in graphics and sound both at the time.
Yeah, but you can still play a decent game. I'll give you a couple examples, and these popped right off the page when I was looking over a list of the booter games, and I remember playing both of them, and I remember playing them both on the PC. It's funny, my neighbors, I've mentioned this before, but our neighbors had an Atari 8-bit, so I would play games at my house, and I'd go down there and play their games, and it's funny to think that there was a time where the Atari 8-bit was just crushing it, and the PC was way behind.
Well,
it's funny to think about, but there was a time.
But here's the thing. DOS kept plugging away, kept innovating, kept upgrading, and
it was expandable.
Obviously, it was the superior system in the end.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but a couple of the games that I just fell in love with, and still play these quite often, is first of all Miner 2049er, which is a great game.
Yep. We
just talked about this. We just covered Manic Miner for the ZX Spectrum, which I have fallen in love with Manic Miner. I don't know if you saw that. I love that game. I love it. I played more last night, and I was watching someone play the Sam Coupe edition, which is superior like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it blows the other out of the water. I've got to have it. I gotta have a Sam Coupe, Brent.
No, you don't.
I want one. But
well,
anyway,
you can want.
It was the fellow that Matthew Smith, the guy that came up with Manic Miner, said he was inspired by Miner 2049er. There are some similarities.
Oh, of course.
A great game, which was released. It's funny, these games not just released as booters, but they were released on a lot of platforms, including on the consoles with the ColecoVision. Yeah. The other one is Montezuma's Revenge, which I played the crap out of that game.
Terrific game.
Both great games. That I used to play quite a bit. Now, speaking of the games, I used to play a ton of winter, summer games.
Oh, all the Olympic games.
Yeah, on the PC. And they
tons of fun. But again, I mean, I hate to keep saying this, especially since this is an episode about DOS, but I played all these games on the Commodore.
Well, it's just your age is your thing. But some of these booter games, some of these things I would get after the fact, because so clearly they were somehow released as games that you didn't have to be booted off of. Because I distinctly remember running Summer Games 2 off of a hard drive on the PC. So I know there must have been some way to hack it over or something. But again, this made booting the games up a lot easier. A couple more I wanted to touch on here. Of course, I mentioned Winter Games. That was such a great game. Another one that I touched. I dipped my toe into pulling this, but I didn't have the jack. I'll be honest with you. Was the Wizardry series.
Never played them.
No, never played any of the Wizardry.
I really need to go back and give them a try. I know they're terrific games. Mm-hmm. Just during that time of my gaming life, a big, long, drawn out, type game like that wasn't in my wheelhouse.
See, you've got a lot of catching up to do since this stuff came out before your time. You're going to go back in there and really that sort of game, and really the Bars Tales, another one that are games that are not necessarily things that I would be playing that much now, but at the time, you had a limited amount of games, and they looked awesome, and they were so much different,
and you
more
wanted
beautiful.
a deeper experience.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can, and this isn't to say that winter and summer games were bad games by any stretch of the imagination, but you could see everything that game had in an afternoon.
In an hour you could easily see.
And you know, a game as deep as Bard's Tale, no chance. No chance. There's so much to do, and there's so much to explore and find. That was just the sheer depth of those types of games at the time are what made them incredibly popular.
Yes, indeed, and they were new. It's funny to me that as the DOS PC evolved, that they got out of the booters. And to expand the experience on the so you can install these games on the hard drive.
Yes.
But on the flip side, much like you said, it started making the games far more difficult, as you had a PC that might have an EGA card and an ad-lib card, or maybe it doesn't have as much memory, and so you really had to be a real big.
You had
tweaker.
to know your stuff.
The one thing that the Amiga had, for the most part, is almost uniform right across the entire platform compatibility. A lot of games, even late in the life of the Amiga, would still support the OCS chipset, and
right.
And so you were usually get memory is the key. So, with all that in mind, we were tasked to pick a couple of classic 1980s DOS games to give a whirl this week. I was actually looking forward to this too, because I like I said, I lived so long. I went through the entire run of DOS pretty much, and there were a lot of titles out, but it's weird. It was when I was sitting here picking games, there were so many of them that looking back on, I wasn't that interested in, or I didn't want to play a real cheesy arcade port. They didn't age well, to be completely honest. I mean, some systems are better than others. Like for example, we've been playing a lot of, like I said, Spectrum, and we played Chase HQ a couple weeks ago. Well, it was a technical marvel, brilliant design.
Yeah.
It was difficult, incredibly difficult. But I mean, you could go back and play it, and you can understand it. But to me, and I don't want to kill anyone that loves DOS, but most of the old DOS stuff, it's just clunky, lots of flashy. It's it's messy because they were working on some limited hardware.
And it had to grow, and it certainly became the superior
not all of it by any
platform.
stretch of the imagination. So, Brent, why don't you tell the good folks what you chose this week? Out of all the pantheon and worlds that you could have chosen from, what's the game that you selected as the DOS game for you to give a shot?
Well, like I said, I didn't really get to play a lot of stuff at DOS back in the day. So I said, what is the game all the kids are playing now on their DOS?
Now.
Right. And it came up to be Tongue of the Fat Man.
Oh, my Lord.
Tongue of the Fat
Man of all the games. Right?
This game, I did not realize how well known this game was.
It has a rep.
Until I started, playing it and researching it. It's kind of funny. Back in the day, this game got absolutely slaughtered. Many people say this is the worst game ever made.
No.
I'm not saying I think that, but a lot of people say this is the worst game for DOS. This is the worst DOS game ever made.
Oh, who says that?
Are
they idiots?
No, it made I believe it was number 4 worst game on a bunch of top 10 lists, like publications.
Just before you begin, I'm going to make one comment.
All right.
When you look at what we played last week, Shuttlepuck Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay. This is creativity, thinking outside the box, used to play a simple game. Right? People liked it. Right? Tongue of the Fat Man is very similar.
Yes. And I'm going to go over that. The thing with Tongue of the Fat Man is this was before the lines had been drawn of what a fighting game was. This was before Street Fighter 2 came along and said, everyone's going to clone us because we did it right.
What year?
It was 1989. So the very end of the 80s. This was developed by Activision, if you can believe it.
Yeah, I believe it.
And like I said, came out in 1989 for DOS. Also came out on the Commodore 64 in the 1990s. And the Sega Genesis even had a port of this, hitting the U.S. shores in 91.
Really? Under the same name?
No.
Oh.
DOS, all the DOS ports called it Tongue of the Fat Man. Mondo's Fight Palace was the C64 name.
That's a better name.
In Japan, they said, when Japan says, you know what, your title's too silly, you're in trouble. Because they just called it Fatman.
That's all you need.
And for the Sega Genesis, they called it Slaughter Sport.
Those are all good names. But really, Tongue of the Fat Man, you don't forget it.
You're right, you don't.
Like, when you picked it, I was like, oh yeah, I played that. I know exactly what that is.
So what is Tongue of the Fat Man? Tongue of the Fat Man is a 1v1 fighting game. In the spirit of, your Street Fighters, your Mortal Kombats, your all that kind of thing. Really, you're going to hate this, but this is really more of a karate champ than those other games.
Yeah.
Because it is a one-button fighter where your joystick's positioning plus either pressing or not pressing the button or tapping the button versus holding the button determines what you can do.
I think it reminded me the most of, I think it was the name of the game we played, me and Boat covered, was called Budokan.
Yes.
Do you remember that with the weapons based karate guy?
And that's actually a very close comparison to the controls.
Right.
That type of feel.
Exactly.
The game itself, though, has with just one button.
Bushido. My bad. I always do that.
Oh,
Bushido.
well, yeah, I knew you were talking about. Because I watched that episode. With one button and your diagonals and up and down, left and right, 18 moves. So that's pretty impressive. Unfortunately, it's not impressive, but we'll get into that in a second. Let's stay positive. Let's stay positive. The game starts you out with 3 fighters that you can choose from. And as you defeat your opponents, they become selectable as playable characters. To bring all, if you get through the entire game, you can have 10 fighters to choose from. A 10-fighter roster is huge. That's absolutely obscene. I mean, look at even Street Fighter 2. Its first thing only had 8 fighters. So having 10 fighters on your roster that's insane. That's insane to do all the sprite work for and everything else.
When we got our background up and I looked, I was like, right, you really don't think about it. It is a large roster, unique large roster.
Right. And the way the game plays is you are in a fight arena, and Mondu controls it. That's the Fat Man, and he pits you against your opponent and lets you bet on the outcome. Or bet on you winning.
Right.
And you get to choose, are you going to beat him in 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes? And so you can wager on yourself and how well you're going to do.
Which I like that.
Yeah, I think that's really clever.
Sometimes you have to let them linger depending on where you bet the money.
Yeah. Well, it's always under. But it's...
Always? Really?
Yeah.
Shoot. Now you tell me. I just let them linger around.
Also, before you go into the fight, you can go into the weapons shop.
Yeah.
And Mondo will sell you, well, Mondo won't do it, but one of his cronies will sell you weapons. And the weapons are things like some of the things you would expect, like throwing stars and knives, make your character invincible. But it also has some crazy things like make your character indivisible. So you can be indivisible for 10 seconds.
Not the best.
Oh, no, not against the computer.
Not the best.
You can get vials of acid that you throw on the ground, and if your opponent is on the ground or if he walks into it, it gets burned. So this is their method of super moves, of special moves, and you buy them before the match, and the stock is set for all the weapons but a rotating 4, which I guess they are more powerful. So you can't always say, oh, this is going to be my loadout, I'm just going to buy this every time, because something you want might not be there every time. So you spend your fight money to buy your weapons, and you spend your fight money to bet on yourself during the match. And you have to bet on yourself, you can't bet on your opponent. Which you can't throw the match. You can't throw the matches.
I bet on them every time.
And then you actually fight. And that's where the game falls apart.
Yes.
It's really unfortunate. You've got what really, especially, I mean, I know 1989 is kind of late in the game.
It's as late as you can go.
But The sprite work on this is really good. The animation, not so much. The animation's is a lot clunky.
It's flashy.
But
it's clippy. It's ugly.
But the actual sprites in this game are big. They are highly detailed. They are incredibly unique.
Yeah.
They're incredibly unique. Now, of course, you have your human fighter, and you've got some of your normal alien type fighters, but then you also have this huge pink guy with this massive head, or even the Fatman himself. It looks like a sumo wrestler, but his belly is actually a big mouth that will open up and his tongue will come out, which is where the title comes from. And all the fighters fight differently. I mean, your humanoid fighter fights as you'd expect, punches, kicks, stuff like that. There's this guy that has like an orb thing on the top of his head that he can whip around. The pink guy kind of throws goo at you. It's not an actual projectile attack, but it just kind of splurts down. So each of the fighters are incredibly unique. But the fighting itself is so clunky. The controls are so bad. The hitboxes are absolutely atrocious. You never feel like you can get close to it. And even after I spent a fair amount of time and I thought I had the controls down, the next fight I would go in and I would be like, I thought I was doing this right. Another very, very unique component to the fighting system is you have multiple bars that cover multiple things.
Yeah. When you look up, you're like,
Well, at the very top, you've got like an EKG that does your heart rate.
Yeah.
And for the most part, that is a worthless bar. It's kind of neat because the aliens have different heart EKGs than the humans do. So that's kind of neat. And then you have a blue bar that's your actual hit point. If that goes to 0, you're dead. You also have a red bar underneath that the more you attack, if you use the same attack over and over, that bar will deplete.
Yeah.
And your moves will do less damage.
It's like the anti-rage bar, basically.
Yeah, you can't spam the same move over and over.
Well, you can, but it doesn't. It's less effective. That's actually kind of.
It's very good. I think it's very clever. And then the green bar is how much the crowd likes you, how entertaining you're being.
I like the aspects of this, but that's a lot of bars up on the screen. And when I first looked up there, I'm like, what in God's name is this?
I honestly, I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, I like the fact that the crowd thing. I mean, I don't know. That's not the worst aspect of the game, but it seems like a lot. That's all I'm saying.
It is. It's unfortunate, but again, like I said before, this was before the standard had been set. Mm-hmm. So this was a game taking a risk, doing the things that they wanted to see in a fighting game.
Yeah.
So clunky fighting can make a fight bad.
Yeah.
But what makes the fight even worse is, for some reason, they thought it would be cool to have in the foreground members of the crowd kind of jump up and get in the screen.
Yeah.
Like they're cheering. It's incredibly distracting because
that's why they're there. Right?
What makes it even? I mean, they jump up and they block your view. Yes. Sometimes they actually block your fighter. Yeah. Like you cannot see because they are in the way.
They don't take into consideration where you're at when they do it.
They just pop in.
I hate to pop in.
And the sprites that pop in are awesome. They're really detailed aliens. And there's multiple of them that can jump up from the crowd depending on where you're at and that kind of thing.
It's sort of like the horizontal pit fighter. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, except they're just more of a distraction than an assistant.
Right, but I'm saying it's a clever idea. The crowd, I mean, a real fight that would happen.
Yeah. It does add to the excitement, but they flash in so fast in some instances that they are just a what is that type of thing. Like you're fighting, you're focused on your fighter, and then something just blinks down here in the corner, and it draws your attention to it.
Yeah.
Really, it's really, really distracting the first time you play because you're like, what was that? What was that?
It's kind of I kind of like that though. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was just amusing. I like the idea that they thought to do it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It gives it that Fight Club effect. You know, you're like, oh man, this feels. I feel like I'm in this grungy alien bar, and these aliens are right up in the action, waving their money. You know, come on.
So, you fight. You use your items that you bought from the weapon shop, and you eventually lose because the game's not very good. Now,
yep, that's pretty much my experience.
So now you go back to Bondu, who's like, he's like, I knew you were gonna lose. You're garbage. You're complete slime. Take this guy's money and have the doctor patch him up. And if you have no money, game over. That's it. That's how you actually game over.
Yeah, I know.
So money is used to basically continue. They're little continues. So the money aspect of this game is really deep. I mean, you use money to bet, you use money to buy your weapons, and you use money after the fight to continue.
I kept thinking that when you bought those weapons, like the weapons seemed pretty good, and I kept thinking to myself, even when I went back I thought this back in the day too. It's like if I knew what I was doing with these weapons, I could probably really get some action out of these. But I never felt like I had a good grip, like on the strategic times. I didn't get much use out of most of them.
I mean, some of them are very standard. You just throw the weapon forward,
right,
and that's it.
Like the acid you were talking about, it's a good example.
Well, the acid, if you can knock an opponent down, you can actually go over there and start wailing on them.
Yeah,
like you can jump up and down on their corpse. That's an awesome addition to a game because that's something that would happen.
Yeah.
In this mystical alien fighting world.
Yeah.
So if you can get them down and throw the acid on them, you can do a ton of damage. Because while they're taking acid damage, it's harder for them to get up. I don't even know if it's possible for them to get up, but I know it's harder. So this game, when it came out, was absolutely hated.
Do you think the box art had anything to do with it? Because you should probably talk about that.
The box art for the U.S. is picture the lower part of someone's face from like the nose to their chin with no eyes, no normal eyeballs in the picture. Now take the eyeballs and put them in your nostrils and then draw little fake eyebrows on your nose. That's the box art. Oh, and big purple lips.
I'll tell you, when I saw this, they must have released this in multiple boxes because I've seen this in the store, and that wasn't the box art. I've seen it the other box art before, so I know I've seen at least 2 box arts for this. That one's the famous one, but I've seen another one. Yeah.
Well, and I think the box art is brilliant.
Well, it's eye-catching. It's also disgusting
because it says, "You are going to look at me. You are at least going to pick me up and find out what I am." Yeah. And that's exactly what a box is supposed to do. So this game reviewed horribly. Absolutely horribly. For being just clunky and everything else. Not only did it get a lot of worst game of the year type awards, it also got worst name of the year.
The name's not good.
And there's... Some people even say this is the worst name of all time. And I don't agree with that. I think Tongue of the Fatman at least gets your attention. It got my attention.
I think Fat Worm, what was it?
Blows a
Sparky is got to be in the running of all the time worst games. That's the one I think of whenever I think of, man, what was that all about? Although Fat Worm Blows a Sparky was probably a better game.
I will say that. It certainly was.
Yeah.
So... When I said I picked this game because I saw everyone was loving it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, everyone hated it.
Right.
This game has found, and the resurgence is already over. This was,
it was quick.
This was more of your 2010 to 2015 range.
Yeah.
A lot of people found this game and went back and replayed it, and it kind of sparked a resurgence. People were saying, This is the type of game you need to remake. And they're absolutely right. Because this had all the elements of a good game. It was innovative. It was it was surprising. There were surprises. I mean, the sprite work was great. It's just the actual gameplay elements. If this was a 3-button fighter with better animations, this would have won tons of awards.
Well, unfortunately, it just came a little too early for the PC to have caught up with what it needed.
Well, I don't think that's the problem. I think that
you really don't.
No, I don't think this was a limitation of the hardware. I think because it had a huge developer behind it, and obviously a lot of this game is really polished. The locales you fight are really nice. The artwork in between fights of Mondu, even though he's a big fat guy, he's a really well drawn big fat guy.
Well, now wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm not gonna. Yes, they do a good job rubbing. He is the most disgusting.
But that's what he's supposed to be.
The first thing you see is him rubbing his nipples. He's like, "All right."
But that,
no, I don't need to see that. I don't care how well drawn it is.
No, Mondo is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, which is exactly what he does.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's supposed to make you feel bad because even when you win, and I did win several matches, even when you win, he tells you how crappy you are. He is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, and you're supposed to not like him.
You know who he reminds me of? Remember?
You?
What? No. You remember the bad guy in Mojo from the X-Men? He has that fighting world.
Yes.
I'm sure that he was at least somewhat used as a basis for
this
guy, because he's a big, disgusting creature with a bunch of crazy aliens in a fighting arena. You know, so I'm assuming that someone picked up an X-Men and were like, well, they got something here. You know?
Like I said, this game had a bit of a resurgence that it has since died down. That people were saying, this is a game, let's remake it. Unfortunately, that never went anywhere. And
you're kidding? They were going to remake this?
No. People were asking for it to be remade, cleaned up.
Yeah.
But the resurgence has since died off, and now nothing's been said about this game until this show for several years. And the eBay price reflects that. This is going for eBay. You can pick it up right now for under $10 for DOS.
Is that boxed?
No, there are no surviving box copies.
That for sale right now.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure, what do you think people? This is the game. If you're ever going to throw the box away, here's the one. Toss that thing in the garbage.
The box is always looking at you.
Yeah.
This actually, one thing about the installation about this. This came on either 1 3.25 or 3 5-inch floppies.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think
3.5 and 5.25.
Yeah.
He's so not old.
What you think? Okay, depending on what disk drive you. No, if you don't install it off the 5.25 floppies, the 3 5.25 floppies, you don't get all of the sound and voices in the game. They cut some of it out to get it onto a 3.
That is unusual.
Yeah. So even though it's a worse format and it has less space on the disc, install off your 5.25 because you get more game.
Well, if you think about it, I believe 5.5. This is an 89. A 3.5-inch disc is 1.44 meg,
yes.
and the 5.25s were probably 720s. So which
they could be.
So that would give you more space.
Yeah.
I mean, and if they were 1.2s, then clearly you can do it. But they were probably 720s, as I recall. 720 I think is what you could put on a 5.25 most of the time. So that would add up to being slightly larger.
Yep.
That's funny.
This also has. When you start the game up, it has a digital voice.
Yeah.
Mondo is welcoming you to his fight arena. It is super clear.
It is. It is outstanding.
Super clear.
That's the most impressive part of the whole thing. That and I mean I agree with a lot of what you said. This game was short. This is one of the classic games that was shortchanged in every way simply by its gameplay. It just couldn't hold up.
Yeah.
And
the sound was pretty crap.
Well, I think the tech. Well, this is again. I think in both instances, it's a sign of the time. The tech wasn't quite ready. And we talked about it when we did DOS games in the 90s. When I did One Must Fall. It was
such a better game.
I'm not comparing the fighting games, but my point is the tech was there. They had a 2-button joystick to work with.
Yes.
They had a
well, this had a keyboard though. You can have all the buttons you wanted.
You don't play a fighting game with a keyboard, dude. You know that. And they had smoother animations because they had a VGA mode. They had tweaked it out to where it was gonna, and it was in some ways it was a safer game in terms of to put
absolutely.
together. Tongue of the Family with this many characters and the way it was done, it was a more difficult game to translate onto a PC, and it was gutsy. And in my mind, I just think about I can't get past the comparison to Shuttle Puck, and I can. Remember when we talked about Shuttlepuck Cafe, the guy, his ship ran out of gas. I mean, he had to come down, and he went into the Shuttlepuck Cafe. I can see this guy come down the street and being at a right in the middle of the street, and over here you've got the Fighting Palace, and over here you've got Shuttlepuck Cafe. This guy's like, which one of these am I going to go in to use the phone? Screw this. I'd see the Fat Man's picture on that front door. I'd be getting in the Shuttlepuck Cafe, too. I'd be like, I'm out of here. But, yeah, I mean, this was a fun trip down memory lane, because I remember getting this game through illicit means back in the day, and I was like, oh man, because as I mentioned before, I was in desperate need of a fighting game. I was dying for one, and of course, '89, right in my wheelhouse. I was a senior in high school, and so when I pulled this down, I was real excited about it, and it looked cool, and I thought the name was intriguing. There wasn't the instant turn off that you hear now, like when you think about it, and it all comes up, and it looks great, and you're just like, man, this is going to be great. And then it's just not. It doesn't play well enough to be a hit.
Correct.
And a remake of this, which would never happen in a blue zillion years.
No, never.
If they could somehow tweak the fight engine, I think I like the atmosphere. I like the graphics for the most part. I like the weapons, the betting.
Yep.
I like all that stuff.
All of it.
You know, and I even like the scenario of the alien battleground.
Yep.
It's just, what are you going to do? You know, you can't do nothing. So
yeah, I mean, you're right. 100% agree.
Yeah.
So on to a arguably better game.
Oh my God! get the nooses ready. So I was tasked with picking something from the '80s, and like I said, I almost picked Hard Hat Mac. I almost picked Zarkon. I thought, as I was picking this game, I was laid up. Like I said, I threw my neck out this week, and so I've been unable to do a whole lot for like 2 or 3 days. I was like, I've got time to ponder what I'm going to pick. And so what I picked, I was like, I'm going to go with one of the big ones. And I went big.
You did.
We are going to take a look at the original Bard's Tale on the IBM. Now, let me tell you the exact moment I knew I was in trouble.
When you picked the game?
I picked the game, and I was making my party, and I was, again, I had played this game back in the day.
Right.
And I'll get into the particulars in a minute, but I was on Discord announcing the game, and I had been playing it for a couple days, and I'd forgotten about the mapping and all the stuff.
It's involved.
And Flack from You Don't Know Flack podcast, which I highly recommend. Great guy, Jack Flack. He sent me a copy of his handwritten notes on the game from like the 1980s. And I was just like, crap.
Yep.
I forgot about the handwritten notes. And by the way, Flack's handwritten notes were better than any paper I ever turned in. You can see why this guy's a writer.
Yeah.
Very orderly.
Yeah.
So, the full title of The Bard's Tale is Tales of the Unknown, Volume 1, The Bard's Tale. All right. Developed by Interplay. Of course, they did a ton of stuff. And published by Electronic Arts.
Yes.
All right. Now, it's funny. This game I played so long ago that I mean, you see the screens floating around, and it shows up on Best of List, but you really don't think about the game. And so it was interesting to go back and rediscover it, and how and again, normally people know that I don't like these multi character control games. But this one I had appealed to me back in the day, and there was a reason for it, which I'll get into. So, this thing came out on a plethora of platforms.
Absolutely did.
I believe its original platform was the Apple II, but you also had the Amiga version, the C64, which I think I'd wager the majority of people listening to this probably played this on the C64.
I bet they played it on the Amiga.
The Apple IIGS, the Atari ST. Of course, DOS, Amstrad, CPC, and Macintosh. Now, this one is one I should mention the the Spectrum, of course, the NEC PC 9801, and the NES.
They had this on the Spectrum?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Spectrum was, I'm telling you, I'm learning that the Spectrum, they were wide open. Every game was like, they all had the vision of Tongue of the Fat Man. I mean, they would try anything, you know, and sometimes it works, you know. I'm cheap plug. So, but the NES, did you ever play the NES version of this?
No, but I know it existed.
I wonder what that's like. I've never looked at that.
I bet it's pretty good. I bet it's real good, actually.
And this, of course, these were released over a series of like 6-7 years.
Yeah. I
believe the DOS version officially came out in 87, but it was originally the game debuted in 85. And it is like I said, it's an RPG adventure game. Now, the credited designer of this is a fellow named Michael Cranford. One thing, I'm not going to go deep into this, but as I was researching, it was amazing the amount of intrigue that was going on in the background and interplay when this was developed. They knew, I think, pretty early on this was going to be a big hit.
Sure.
And of course, as you're releasing all these different versions, you are seeing success. And so they were all fired in a hurry to get a sequel out and to lock things down because they knew they had a hit. And so there was a lot of like contract stuff that was going on. People were getting credited when they shouldn't have. There was a lot of he said, she said stuff. There were threats. Lawyers, crooked lawyers were involved. And ultimately, a lot of the team weren't around past the second Bard's Tale. And I do distinctly remember the flavor changed right around there. You know, it's been forever since I played the second one. But that would explain a lot. But that's something if you're into that sort of thing. It was, and of course, from what I've read, everyone's buried the hatchet now. And hilariously, crooked lawyers are blamed for at least part of this with double crooked contracts, you know, locking people down. So, but I thought that was kind of neat. According to our good buddies online, as I mentioned, this was originally out for the Apple II. And it looks like the NES the NES was the last one that got released.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Now, I should mention there's a remastered version of this, of the Bard's Trilogy.
Yep.
Which I just had to look at the screenshots of it.
It's very remastered.
Have you tried it?
I have not, but I've seen it. It looks spectacular.
So, what is the Bard's Tale? First of all, do you know what a bard is? Obviously, you play D&D. Bard is when I think Bard, I think of Sir Robin's minstrel that danced around like a jerk in Monty Python's Holy Grail. Sir Robin ran away, away.
Stop that! No, I didn't.
That's what I think of, because bards had in our D&D games, bards were not well liked or used. And then my buddy Jerry had a bard that rose up from the muck and ended up being a real stud. And everybody, so we finally eventually we gave in to the bard class. But bards basically in role-playing realms, their songs would have magical abilities.
Right.
And so I remember when this game came out, we didn't think much of it just because of the name. We heard bards were in it. We're like, bards? That shows you how stupid you are when you're young. You know. But of course we got over it once we figured out what was going on. So this game starts with the most simple role-playing premise there is. You're in a bar. That's it. How many D&D games have stuck off of that? And so you're tasked immediately with coming up with a party of characters. Okay? So you can create up to 6 PCs, and you can pick them from different classes. Now, you've got, of course, Bard, as we mentioned.
Right.
You've got Conjurer, Magician, Warrior, Rogue, Paladin, Monk, Hunter. Right?
Yes.
And then once you pick your class, this thing will effectively roll up a character.
Yep.
D&D style. You get random rolls. Now, what do you do here? There's 2 things you can do. Now,
that's like you hit the button a lot until you get what you want.
Now, if you played Dungeons and Dragons from back in the day, generally you roll your statistics up with 3 6-sided dice, and generally the DM sometimes will be there with you, and he'll certainly okay your character. And often you'd see these characters come in with stats all above 14.
Yeah.
And you're like,
crazy.
What are the odds of that? And some people would have multiple 18s. They were hot. Take this guy to Vegas. This is the premise used when you're rolling up a character in this game because the stats are meaningful.
Yeah.
And you got nothing but time.
That's right.
And I remember eventually they had character editors and stuff. You could just go in and tweak one up, you know. Which is one of the good things about having DOS. Which I did play this on DOS. That was the platform that I played this on, so that's why I was familiar with this version. So once you roll up your character, you get to name them, which is cool, and there's a little picture, and you also get to pick their race as well. You've got hobbits, and you've got humans, and you got half orcs and elves and half elves and dwarves. All the standard. I mean, these guys just picked up the player's handbook and they're like, okay, here we go. No one cared. You know, you just went down the list. So once you've got your party, you basically sort of name a party, and then you're off.
Yeah.
So the screen in this game, for the most part, is split into like
quarters.
In the quarters, and you've got basically a three-dimensional. How can we say this? A pseudo 3D view when you're walking around in one corner.
Yes.
And then you've got, of course, you see your characters listed, and they're in. You actually assemble them in marching order, just like you do in Dungeons and Dragons, and then you will also have. You could also click on them and get your equipment.
Yes.
All right. Pretty straightforward stuff, and then there's a thing that will tell you, what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Now, this all is pretty simple and straightforward. Then you actually start playing. So when you start the game out, you have a certain amount of gold, and the first thing you really want to do is go and outfit your fighter. I mean, again, this is all pretty standard fare now, but at the time, just the view itself was pretty impressive, wasn't it? Now.
Yeah, it sucked that it was a quarter screen, but the picture itself in that quarter screen was remarkable.
Right. The screen, when I say pseudo 3D, I mean it was. I'm trying to think what we can equate this to. You're walking down a street. It's sort of like it's not a screen by screen walking. It scrolls. But I mean, really, you're moving one square at a time. But it's smoothly scrolled.
It's tile based.
Right.
Everything is based off of tiles.
Right. So the town you're in has a bar. They have armory. They've got a place with a bunch of monks. There's a bunch of empty houses. You can go in pretty much any house.
Yeah. It gives you a lot of freedom.
This is where I was quickly and violently reunited with what it was like to play a game like this for back in the day.
Yes.
Time to get out the paper and try to figure out this town. Now, what I eventually did was I got online and
downloaded
other
a
suckers
map.
that had done it.
Yeah.
I had the map, but even with the map, it was getting around was my number one pet peeve. And I'm gonna say, of all these games that were made from back in the day, this was always a hassle. And it's one thing that modern technology has done to make it better. You've got let's face facts. Even when you play Doom and stuff, it's really easy to get lost. And they've got 3 see-through transparent maps that overlay the screen. I'm horrible at direction. So honestly, I spent a great deal of time being lost.
Yeah, I did too.
Added to that, and then the starting town you're in, you can go forward, and there's one road that I didn't know this at the time. It basically, because I'd forgotten it, but they teleport you back to the beginning of the road.
Yes.
And so you just feel like a jerk. It's like, where the heck am I? Why am I back here or whatever? So one thing I also noticed is that and I'd forgotten this, it's random monster mania, run wild.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the creatures in this game. There are a ton of really cool creatures.
Amazing art.
You've got all the stuff,
Amazing
kobolds and goblins and wizards and pissed off dwarfs and mercs and all the way up to stuff like skeletons and dragons and
sort of beholders.
Yeah.
Not really beholders, but sort of.
When you're in, the name of the town you start in is called Skara Bray. Right? Cool sounding name.
Yeah,
it sounds like a town, So you go and outfit your characters, and you've got a certain amount of gold, and it's actually pretty intuitive when you do it. You pick the character, talk to the guy, you can buy the stuff you want, or you can give all your gold to one guy, have him buy everything, and sort of disperse it.
Which you don't want to do it that way. You want each character to talk,
right? Because
it will put a symbol beside things that you cannot use.
That's right,
and that is so helpful.
Yeah, well, but I mean, if you've got guys that are better at I think some of you guys can have a better chance of getting it at a lower price. That's why it would do that. I remember doing it back in the day, so I tried to follow suit. But once you equip your guy, now here's the way it works. Your front 3 guys can engage in melee combat.
Yes.
Then you've got, so here's the way I did it. My party was, I had 2 warriors, and I had a rogue, and I had 2 warriors and a paladin, and I had a rogue, and I had a conjurer, and what was the other guy I had? Can't remember off the top of my head.
You had a hunter, didn't you?
And, hunter. Yeah. And so what I would put my paladin and my 2 warriors in the front.
Yeah.
And then you take my rogue. I'd put him in the shadows somewhere. That shtick.
Yeah.
Just like D&D, comes out and backstabs. And then you've got your magic guys hurling stuff over the top. Magic in this is actually they've changed. I was reading about this, and there was some stuff.
Wait, you didn't have a bard?
No, I never took a bard. I never take one. I'm sorry, I can't change. Now bards in this, and we'll get to that in a minute, but the combat in this this is what I loved about this game. All right, and this is something that turns me off in a lot of games that have party. I don't like individually moving and individually. I don't like having to control 4 guys or 6 guys. It's just too much for me, man. I just can't do it.
Right.
So in this game, when a combat starts, let's say, for example, you're bebopping down the road. Whoop! It's a wizard. It's a pack of 6 pissed off wizards. They're going to get you.
Yeah.
You could say, fight or run. Well, sometimes when you hit run, you're not running. You just don't get away.
Yeah.
They don't want you to go. So you fight. Okay, now, it'll say, what does your characters want to do? Now, it gives you the options of basically attack your own party. That's one. Now, by the way, every time defend, is one, or use an item, right?
Yeah.
And so for my first 3 guys, just attack foes, and then it'll even give you the option of which guy, depending on what your situation is. And then, like if you're a rogue, for example, you can defend. You can move. Since he's like in my party, for example, he was the 4th guy in, or maybe he was even the last guy, but I would hide him. He's hiding to attack later. And then the wizard, you would pick his spell. So basically, you've already got your guy set up with his weapon. So you're good to go.
Yeah.
He'll attack with his weapon. That when it's the time for one of your spell slingers to come up, there'll be a selection of spells. Now, I read this and I never played this version. I guess on the Apple version, maybe in a couple other versions, you would have to type in a name of the spell. The PC version had the names that you had listed.
Yes.
So much easier.
Yes.
I would hate to have to type those in because I can never, even when you have them, I can remember them.
Yeah.
You'd have to have the book here with you. The book in this thing is actually the rule book, and then they also released like a clue book, which I looked at the PDF of. They're pretty handy, to tell you what's going on. So once you've determined what spell you're going to use, combat is then. It just goes on. Now, is there any physical combat? Do you see it? No. Is there a map movement on the combat? No. It's limited. But for me, I like that. I don't need all those. I know what you're going to say. I don't want to tactically move guys around during a combat.
No.
I just want to see the fight go down and see how I'm doing. And of course, how much damage you take, how many times you get hit. It's just straight up D&D. You've got an armor class. Depending on what kind of armor your guy's wearing or ability to not get hit, will determine how many hit points he loses, and also how well they attack is part of it. And so it will actually go through and just negotiate the entire combat of that round. Yep. Bam. It'll say Joe hits for 6, Joe hits for 4, evil wizard hits for whatever. This guy's on fire, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
This guy's in the shadows. And then you're off to round 2, and it says, okay, do you want to attack or flee? And you're basically, and fight or flee, and then you pick again. And this will happen until 1 or 2 or 3 things happen. Either you'll defeat all the bad guys, and then you'll loot them, right? And it'll say you get this much experience, and you get this much wealth, just like D&D. Or you will lose, and all your guys are killed, total party kill, TPK, or something in between where you'll fight half the battle and then flee, for example, which can happen. And then that's combat. It just goes over and over. I love that. That's probably my favorite part of the game because it's for someone like myself that's not what I would call organizationally sound. I can just let them. I just let them go, and eventually you get into a groove as to how you want things to go in a combat. I like the fact that marching orders are important. I just love that stuff. It's the fundamentals of this game that I like.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with all that. I would have rather it been animated to a greater degree than it was.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but
what are you going to do?
I understand the limitations of the time. And the text crawl as you're fighting, I mean, you have to have it there because you have to inform people of what's happened. But it seemed dry. It seemed dry. I wish they had a way to spice that up, have hits and stuff, maybe in a different font, because you have a text crawl there that totally goes over your combat, and it's just white text on a black background scrolling endlessly as you do your thing.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's sort of EverQuestian in a way. The way I mean that's exactly
Except
what EverQuest is.
You actually see it.
Right, but I'm saying it's a text scroll. Listen, this thing set this precedent for a lot of this stuff, and I think that's one of the things. Hey, listen, you could probably, I bet you could dump a log just like Ken EQ back in the day.
You know?
So that was pretty much the basics of combat, and it can get more advanced as you go. So something else this game did. Now this was unusual. I thought it was. I didn't remember this aspect of it, but when you level up, you got to go basically
you have
to the review board effectively to level up your guys. And they'll weigh whether you have the money to do it, and also if you've got enough experience points, and you'll level up that way. And of course, when you level up, you get more spells and more stats. And it's
leveling. Stuff. They'll give you the level up for free, but spells, those are gonna cost you.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets to a ridiculous amount. It's like, well, I guess I'm staying with these spells for another 6 levels.
Yeah. Now this game has, of course, it's a Dungeons and Dragons style game, so you're going to go in dungeons. Now I managed to get into and partially through the first dungeon. That's how pathetic I am. And getting to it was no easy task.
Oh, no kidding.
I'd totally forgotten that all the stuff you got to do with getting this, asking for this certain type of wine. I had to pull out the docs.
Yeah.
I'm a pathetic old guy that can't remember nothing. I couldn't remember how to do it. And then you're in there, but basically. Once you're in there, it's pretty much the same basic bear. It's the sewers, it's the usual stuff, and you're down there, jacking around. Something else, the towns will have this like statue you can fight. Did you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. It turns into different monsters.
Yeah. I didn't come anywhere near being able to tangle with that stuff.
I didn't even mess with it.
So I'm gonna tell you what I liked about the Bard's Tale. I liked the fighting system. I liked character creation. I wish there were more portraits you could pick from, but that's just they're getting chancy. But those are little tiny pictures. It seems like they're gonna put some more in.
You're right.
I liked the atmosphere, and I liked the old schooliness of it to a degree. The fact of the matter is, auto mapping wasn't a thing. I read that this is a 30 by 30 square grid, that the first town you're in. Okay, it seems immense to me, but it was. I had trouble negotiating, and in fact, the dungeon I thought was easier. It was easier to map.
It was easier. Yeah. The landmarks were easier to keep track of. I agree.
I remember playing this back in the day, and I could get. I never beat it, but I could get fairly deep into it before the wheels came off. But I mean, one thing I've learned about myself is I was a much more. I had a lot more patience and a lot more time. I mean, it's true. Am I wrong?
No.
Like I said, Flack's notes. It was a stark hit in the face. I'm like, I'm gonna have to take notes. I've got to get. I've got to really pay attention when you play a game like this. But I thought if you consider what came before this, I mean, you're coming off of things like basically straight up text games.
Yes.
You're coming off stuff like roguelike games. Where with a visual, but this is leagues past them in terms of feeling like a role-playing game.
Oh, absolutely.
This feels more like a Dungeons and Dragons style game, and it's going to be there's going to be road bumps on the way to getting to something like Eye of the Beholder, or even stuff like Dungeon Master and stuff that came later.
Well, and I think, kind of like you said, coming off of text adventures, where obviously you had to map. Mm-hmm. In real life, you had to take notes and that kind of stuff. So I think the developers of this said, well, everyone's already doing this, so we don't need to handle this in game. So I think they use the resources in other areas of the game instead of taking up the resources, because you got to think that games are tiny at this point.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you consider the platform and the time and the and what you had to work with in terms of media, you're right. It is pretty. I mean, because it's not is this the most beautiful game? No, but I mean,
the art's great.
The art's great, but if
oh
you're,
my gosh, the art is great.
The color limitations there.
It is.
You know, now I've read that the Atari Apple GS version, this is incredible, like off the charts good. I can get a look at it. And I've read that the Spectrum versions were quite good. It was well received.
I would love to play this. Really, I think that'd be very interesting.
So just to dovetail that, this game was like very well reviewed.
Oh, of course.
You know, Dragon liked it. It got 5 out of 5 stars. You know, eventually they botched it at first. The Spectrum version was very popular. Like I said, the Apple II GS version was very popular. The Barge Tale on the C64 got a 94% zap, which is that's a huge score. It was it got a 7.49 out of 10 from Computer Gaming World. It got into Hall of Fame. It was in '90. It received the 7th highest number of votes in a survey of all-time favorites. You know, and in '96, Computer Gaming World named the Barge Tale the 89th best game ever. I think that's probably a little low. According to this, in the '80s, they sold. It was the best-selling RPG of the '80s. It sold at 407,000 copies.
That's huge.
If you consider that,
that's huge for adults.
I'd be interested to wonder what where those copies sold. You know, again, there were basically 3 sequels that were fairly immediate. You had Bard's Tale 2, Destiny Night, Bard's Tale 3, Thief of Fate, and then I'd forgotten about this, Brent. I have to say, when I read about it, I was like, oh man. The Bard's Tale construction set that came out in '91. I
didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I had heard about that, but I never got to fool with it. Eventually, these games were compiled into what's known as the Bard's Tale trilogy, which is a DOS release that came out. It was either late '89 or early '90. So,
a few aspects about this that you didn't mention. I think are certainly interesting.
Go ahead, please jump in.
This had mouse control.
Oh yeah, I should admit, without it, it would have been a nightmare.
I preferred to move around the keyboard, but you can move around with the mouse.
The mouse, with moving around with the keyboard, yes.
Yeah.
The mouse would put a little arrow up in the visual section of the screen, or a little curved arrow. Yeah. But I moved with the keyboard. Yeah. But the mouse was still. I should have mentioned that. You're right. The mouse. Without a mouse on this, the disaster.
It would have been different.
Yeah.
A couple of gameplay aspects. To recover when your wizards and stuff run out of spells, you have to take them back to a temple to basically get your spells back. The bard, because you didn't have a bard in your party, you can actually lose your voice.
Yeah, and he has to get drunk.
You have to go back to the bar.
I remember that
to drink and
something
get
else that
your voice back.
When some of your players get killed or your hit points are depleted, you can go to these like temples. Yeah. Right. Let me tell you something. Pony up the offering, pal. These suckers cost a fortune.
Yeah.
To get, just on the very first level in the city you start out in, to get a guy raised like 900 gold.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then it's a sliding scale as to how hurt they are to get their health points back.
Yeah.
Brutal. Now, eventually, you can get spells that give you some health, but I mean, the early ones suck.
They're better than nothing.
Yeah.
And one last aspect of this game that I thought was very unique that you didn't touch on. You can have monsters join your party.
Yeah. I didn't get far enough for that to happen.
The top slot, occasionally, the top slot is used for 2 things. If you have a conjurer, he can eventually, you can cast spells to summon monsters to fight with you. But you can also just run across, usually it's mercenaries and stuff like that will join your party until they die. But you can even pick up like ogres or skeletons to join your party.
I was watching a playthrough of some of the advanced levels, and a skeleton that comes up. It's like, of all the things that join up, and it talks. Hey, how's it going? That is bizarre. But that's awesome. That's really cool. Hey, in D&D that happens. You pick up followers. So
usually not monsters, but it happens.
It's pretty neat.
So that's a neat. And one last thing to mention: the locale, actual place on the planet. It's an ancient town, an ancient village. Like in real life.
I read that the guy that designed this or originally developed it was very religious. I saw this somewhere. And so there are tons and tons of biblical references in the game, in Christianity. like locations and stuff. So I wonder if that's a religious locale. That'd be something to look up. It was an interesting game, and the fact that a religious guy made it is even sort of makes it, especially since the religion, the healers, we just bad mouth. They think they cut you some slack. I looked this up on the eBay, Brenny, and right now there are no DOS versions up, but locally. Anyway, but if you're wanting to go overseas, you can pick up the boxed version. I'm looking at some good deals here, really, I think. If you want to order from Germany, there's a PC DOS Bard's Tale sealed right now for $393, and an open version for $78. I should mention
you think those are good deals?
Well, this is the Bard's Tale 1. It's an epic, well-known game, and these had the cool like album type.
Yeah, they were big
and
box.
The cover on this is legendary. Beautiful.
It is. It's very nice.
Cover. I really enjoyed.
I mean, it's no Tongue of the Fat Man.
No,
but
it's not. I enjoyed going back and playing this, and I wish I'd had could stared at the screen longer than I could have to get further in, because I was actually at halfway decent back in the day.
And this is something that you have to really commit yourself to.
Yeah,
you have to. I mean, picking this up and playing it for 20 minutes or something, you're not even going to get through character creation.
No.
It
took me forever I knew that I had to have good characters. I knew that.
I'll have to say I kind of cheesed out on my characters, and I paid for it later. I mean, I rolled and rolled and rolled, and finally I was just like, you know what, screw it.
Yeah. Speaking of, heck, screw it. Well, let's play the wheel.
No.
Yeah, all right.
All right, let's do some wheeling.
So tell them what we put on there this week, Brenny.
We went really outside the box.
Yeah.
And we added electronic board games.
That's right.
Electronic board games. Aaron and I have a vast history, ongoing history of board game play.
Yeah.
Aaron and I both have a fairly encompassing knowledge of electronic board games, so hopefully we'll get to share some of that with you eventually.
All right, spin the wheel, make the deal, Brent. Here we go.
Saturn would be cool. Well, almost Saturn.
What do we get?
We got Laserdisc.
Okay, now that's something we can sink our teeth into. Laserdisc games. Now, I think there's no bigger fan of Laserdisc games than us, is there, on Earth?
We are pretty big Laserdisc fans.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, never owning a system, but playing them all.
Well, you'd be a fool to own a system. They break.
They break.
So,
yeah.
Before we move out of this, did we get any user reviews for these games?
We did not.
I meant to ask.
Outside of wishing us luck on Fatman, and saying how awesome Bard's Tale was, which was a general consensus, we had no user reviews.
That's okay. So hopefully we'll get some good ones in for lasers. I was late getting my pick in this week too, so that probably didn't help.
It didn't help.
Who do we got in the chat room? You want to say hi to anybody?
We got a pretty good crew. We do have a good crew. Sorry, I was reading something else in chat.
One track mind. Let's go.
We got Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, me, Necronom.
You can't name yourself as being in the chat room. You're here.
But I'm also in chat. Matthew's in chat. Paul was in chat. Alec, Edvin, Terry, my adoring wife. Picard's here. I don't know why I can't pronounce this name. Laurent.
I can't audibly spell. What do you want from me?
But
give it a whirl.
Laurent?
Close enough. Oh, is it Laurent Giroux?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about my? I can't
How do you not know him?
I do know. I just can't read.
Good God. Get him, Laurent.
Sorry, Fatman got into my head. Now you won't get out.
So
visual images.
Next, I think we've pretty much taken care of all the business. Next week, please join us as we delve deep into the land of laser games. Do you have a thought on what you're going to pick without telling anybody? There's so many.
I think we should outlaw Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
I'm not outlawing anything. I'm not taking anything off the table. Total surprise. I'm not outlawing nothing. I'm ignoring you. So. Join us next week. It's laser time. And until then, party on.
Have a good one. don't know why.
Laurent Giroux?
I'm sorry, man.
We love Laurent.
I for some reason my brain just.
At least you got Paul. This is what I got to work with. You want me to get up this early, come and deal with him? Are you kidding me?
Man, I don't know why. That name, I'll sit there, I stared at it, I read what you wrote, and then I was like, why could I not figure out how to pronounce that name?
Did we go over an hour?
I don't think so.
How's that possible?
I don't think so. Oh, yeah, we did.
Wasn't this win the last one? Holy smokes, hour and 15 minutes?
You might have to edit some of that.
I thought it didn't seem too wordy to me. I mean, how much? You gotta take some time to describe these games. They're big and diverse.
Maybe you can cut out some of the.
You didn't even go into the fighters. I mean, the actual individual fighters.
Oh no! What are you gonna say?
They're crazy. They were crazy. I went into all the guys in Shuttle Puck.
Well, you sure did.
Hey, listen, that sure did okay. Was that too wordy, guys? We've been trying to cut down on how long this goes, and we've been going longer each week that we've tried to stop going long. And I was afraid this week we wouldn't have enough time to fill a show.
Yeah.
The games are complicated. They take some time. You've got to get in there. I don't regret it. I take that back. Because if I just said Bard, so it's pretty cool. Get up character and go in. No one wants to hear that. Everybody knows that. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and Tongue of the Fatman, it's like, well, this game stinks. Everybody knows that. You got to explain what's wrong with it. Damn it! I will die for my art. That's where I am now.
So
an artiste now.
Let's take a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And let's reflect on what just happened.
What do you mean?
We just went an hour and 15 minutes on one really good game and one really bad game. I think,
and I noticed the opening segment was only about 17 minutes. I think before we got you started, or maybe it was even a little bit less. So it wasn't like I went real long on all the opening. You think the opening was too long?
I think the opening was a little long.
Well, I just wanted to go over some of those booters. They were cool.
They were, but see,
maybe I'll cut some of that out.
You know what you just said? You know, we can't just say, well, this game's great and this game sucks. That's what we did for the opening.
Well, we were just going over some of the early booters.
Right.
I could cut the booters down if you want me to. I'll cut it down. I could have done it 5 minutes.
Picard wants us to go longer.
Thank you, Picard. What do y'all think? Do I need to go and cut some of this? I mean, be brutally honest.
They're saying, and it didn't feel long at all.
You know, in all honesty, y'all, I mean, we're not professionals, are we? We don't know what we're doing.
Well, I mean, we are at this point.
No, we're not.
Yes. If you get paid to do a thing, you're
donations.
a professional.
The point is, no. Don't, because I can't live with that, because I don't feel like that would make me embarrassed if you say it that way.
Well, we're
amateurs.
No, I'm an amateur. I don't get paid to do this.
You get paid in Wonder Swans.
You are a professional.
No, it's not.
Yes,
listen.
you are a professional.
I'm in over my head here. I'm in over my head. 3 shows. It's crazy time.
Well, reduce it down,
and the thing is, all the shows I love, they're all great. I've enjoyed the last month of games. Probably you got to get into this Manic Miner. Have you played Manic Miner?
Well, they're being very kind in chat and saying that.
Are they talking about Manic Miner?
No,
talking about Manic Aaron.
They're saying that the content fit the time. Don't worry about time. Well spoken.
I just don't want to shortchange anything. That's I mean, listen. I'll listen to a show or something. I want it. I mean, you can't half-ass the Bard's Tale. You can't. It's got to get. I mean, and I really didn't feel like I covered enough. You know, but I mean, we could have done a whole show on just that game.
Here's the thing. I go back when you go and put in all the stuff.
Yeah.
I typically watch the show.
Well, I do that every week.
I know. Yeah. I typically watch the show.
Yeah.
Like when it gets posted on.
Hey, turn that heater on. I want to see if they can hear it. Hey guys, we're gonna turn our heater on. Tell us if you can hear this coming over the mic, would you?
It's not gonna matter.
It'll take a second, but if you hear it kick on.
So
yeah.
Back to what I was saying. I watch the show every week.
Yeah.
And when I watch it, the only way I can watch it is at double speed.
We're too boring.
Well, it's
double speed. My God, it was like Chipmunks.
No, it actually is not that bad.
Dude, I watched that double speed.
Now, obviously, some of that is going to be because I already know what's going to be said, and I'm just watching it for basically the visuals or to make sure you didn't screw up in editing.
Can you hear that, by the way, the heater? If you hear it, let us know. Go ahead. I don't know why I leaned in. So what's your point here? It's too long.
I just feel like it's long.
It is long. I mean, I guess
I appreciate the people in chat that are saying that all that's fine and I shouldn't worry about it. I just wonder if people who click on the video, I mean, when I click on a video and I see it's an hour when I see it's an hour plus video, no matter what's going on, I'm like,
You know, I keep forgetting my cardinal rule with these shows. And generally, my cardinal rule is I don't care. I do what I want. And so I'm going to go with that. Because, yes, I don't care. People can skip it or not watch it. But, I'm not going to I'm not going to shortchange it.
That's not getting picked up on the mic, dude. Yeah, they said they can't hear it in chat.
Oh, man, we can have heat in here now. That's awesome.
Dude, it's going into spring.
I've got the noise filters.
We need to see if the air conditioner can get heard here soon.
Yeah, but I don't know. I hate to go back and edit stuff too because if it's, just straight up just to save time. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm gonna ride. Sink or swim. We're a small show too. It's not like it. No one's gonna really. I don't think they're gonna hold it against us.
Guru says that. Note that I'm listening on the podcast on my phone at 1.3 speed, and it shortens silences and the app plus shortens silences and the app keeps the voice frequency normal. That's pretty good.
Who said that?
LaRon
Giroux. You called him Guru. I was like,
no, I didn't.
Guru. Yeah, you did.
No, I did.
I was like, who? What?
Matthew says you should do as you please, and that's.
Yeah, so that's what I like. That's the attitude.
I don't know, and I'm not. This isn't like a man. I desperately
you've been
want
pressuring me to shrink it down. I'm a windy jerk. What am I doing? How am I doing 3 shows? I'm a loudmouth.
windy jerk too.
Be windier.
Dude, no.
You went at least as long as I did this week.
I did. No, I went longer than you did, I think.
Okay. I don't. What the hell? What are you gonna do? Hey, you want me to turn the lights on? You want to see the lights?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sure the people at home.
I don't know what the lights.
Although we had a horrible turnout for live this week. We only had. I think we peaked at 11. Maybe we are filming too early. Hey guys, if we filmed an hour later, would that be better or worse for you guys? People still in chat. I could. I don't know. I don't want to commit to that yet. Okay, so you don't have anything actually hitting the. Don't take the big lights off.
I gotta take those off. You don't get the effect.
Well,
thanks. Yeah.
I'm certainly in a drug trip now. Yeah.
Turn off the blues. Factor in. It looks like we're in remember the Pops Ghostly? It looks like we're I'm turning this. Pretty cool though, eh?
No, just sit down. So guys, hey Aaron.
Yeah.
How about this? How about we compromise?
Okay.
Because it seems like for the folks that are in chat, maybe an hour later would be a bit much. What if we started a half hour later?
That would help me.
Would that be helpful to
yes.
you?
It's killing me to get up this early on Sunday.
Okay, you know it's not really that early, right?
It is when you listen. I only get to sleep in 1 day a week, and it's no days a week because it's killing me.
I feel like under the sea.
Let's go. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go at the same time next week. All right, and then we got
that way we can announce it.
Well, we can talk about it. Maybe I'll change my mind.
No, I think I would be okay with going a half an hour later. I can't. I think that would be a fair compromise.
I'm gonna move that disco ball.
Why?
I think I'm gonna move it right there. Side of that, because this side over here is not getting as much light. That looks bizarre though.
Well, you've got one light that's on the
well, when I get
the
new lights I'm getting, the dimmable rope lights, we'll be able to leave those on and dim them, and then and they can flash and do all kinds of crazy stuff. You know?
Okay. I'm working on some of the monster aspects.
Oh, awesome! And also, I noticed we didn't have any box art this week again.
Dude, yeah.
My wall is blank over there. Well, you ready?
Hey, Matt, no, it's not really that. An hour later would be really rough for me.
Yeah, it's Brent's the one that's stinking it up over here.
I would go an hour earlier.
Oh God, are you trying to kill me? So I have to get in here at 7:30?
Yeah.
No way. There's a 0% chance.
But Aaron can't handle that.
I can't. I just can't do it. Like last night, I had guests over until 2:30 in the morning.
I was up till I was up to past 3. So
yeah,
I don't want to hear it.
You don't have a jacked up neck. It's hard to sleep.
See.
Well, you don't.
Let me see. Oh, I got so little sleep last night, it didn't even get tracked.
Well, that's on you, pal. I don't know what you were doing. Up to no good.
No, possibly.
Hey, Bob, I didn't announce on the show, but I'm going to stick in, theoretically, I'm going to edit in some April Fool's stuff at the end of this episode. Just to make it longer.
You know, because it needs to be several days long.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're out of here. We'll try to do better next time.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for showing up.
Thank you for your support.
In Discord, if anyone wants to see, talk about going a little bit later, if it would affect your viewing, that'd be a fun discussion to get going, just so we can get kind of a consensus on it.
Yep, I agree. All right, guys, we will see you on Friday. Bye-bye.
Later.